So guys, another one that was leaked is the Leclerc MSC. So let's talk a little bit about it and what it is, this weird looking Leclerc that almost looks like a leopard if you really look from afar. Of course, as always, you can help the channel becoming a member of Patreon or helping it out with a donation to help me buy a new GPU. So yeah, let's get into it, guys. The MSC is actually something that the French actually need. Yes, apart from being another Leclerc, it's a tank that really would be perfect, and it will be perfect, of course, since it was leaked, so eventually it will come anyway, right? To be basically the bridge between the AMX30 B2s and the first Leclercs. And why is that? Well, because it is pretty much the first, or one of the first, prototypes of the Leclerc, right? So let's talk a bit about the tank. So most of the stuff will be very similar to the S1 production model that we have in the game, right? So you shall see the differences where they come, but to be honest, it's basically the turret. The majority of the stuff is pretty much the same. But let's talk about the differences, right? So the idea here is that the tank didn't have a composite turret. So the tank actually doesn't have a lot of armor, especially on the turret. It kind of looks like a leopard. It's kind of weird, the turret, the way that it is. But yeah, it doesn't have any type of composites there. It has kind of a multi-layered steel protection. So I don't know if this is the same as Neta, or I don't think it is, right? So it should be easy to penetrate this tank in the on the turret, okay? Although it does have some protection, it's not too much, and I don't think it will take too much of a penetration value to be able to penetrate this tank, right? So this is the Achilles heel of this tank, right? Because everything else is as good as the S1. That's the interesting part. So it would still use the diesel 1500 engine, a horsepower engine. It would have around 50 tons, so it would be lighter than the S1, for example, having a 30 horsepower per 10 ratio, so it's a little bit better than the 26 or 27 that the S1 has, for example. So a little bit better acceleration and stuff, being lighter, and it would still use the same CN120 gun, right? Of course, this is the 26, so it's the same version as the S1, and it never used anything else other than the G1 round, the OFL 120 G1 apparently. So it would still use the initial ammunition that the Leclerc S1 has, right? But it's still pretty good, right? It would have a thermal imaging system on the gunner, but no thermal imaging system on the commander. And like I said, the armor should be very, 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 very weak compared to the later Leclercs, okay? So at the end of the day, it would be a faster, more nimble, maybe agile, if you will, Leclerc with way less armor, especially on the side of the turrets and stuff, that would still use some early rounds, and you would need to use this mobility to actually be able to do well, since one shot from a lot of these tanks that you will face can get you killed. But the thing is, if in the correct BR, this tank could actually be pretty good. Because think about it, the Leclerc S1 is a 12.0 tank, like a top tier tank. The first one is already a top dog, right? So you jump from basically an 8.7 tank to a 12.0 tank. That's a big gap. Of course, we do have the Leopard 2A4NL there, and apparently they're gonna, add another one as a premium. And we do have the MX40, the Vextra 105. So we have some 10.0s, we have one 10.7, maybe two now with the new premium, but there isn't that many tanks there. So I think it should be around a 10.3 tank, 10.7 if it performs too good, you know. We will need to see how it would perform compared to the Leopard, for example, and some other tanks. So it would probably have a little bit less armor. I would have to check than the Leopard. I think it is, right? So probably 10.3 or something. But also, I mean, it would be the perfect, and it will be the perfect transition from an early tank to a later tank in that tech tree. So it's perfect. I really am glad that they are actually adding this tank. So it's a very, very fun tank already to drive. You know, the Leclerc is one of my favorite MBTs. I love the Russian ones, of course, and the Leopards. I love the Leopard too. But the Leclerc is shortly after the Leopard on the regards of fun, you know. So it's a very fun tank in my opinion. It has its drawbacks, but in a general sense it's a great tank. And this version with a way lower BR, you know, would be perfect to drive around in these lower ranks, right? So it's a very cool tank that I'm glad Gaijin is adding it. So yeah, just think about first generation thermal on the gunner, same gun as the S1 with the early round, no armor on the turret, very good mobility, still has smoke grenades, still has a gun, you know, like a machine gun, so it's still going to be the same good old Leclerc. So some minor changes to actually have a lower BR. And from afar, like I said, it kind of looks like the turret of the Leopard 2A4, which is kind of funny, but yeah. I see you guys on the next one. Let me know in the comments what you think about the MCS, and would you like to get it or not? Let me know in the comments. See ya. Bye.